Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well and I hope you are having a great day, evening or night, whenever it is you may be watching this. So today I've decided to film a how to go on a summer holiday or just holiday in general with your family on a budget, because let's face it, not all of us are stinking rich and can afford to go on luxurious expensive holidays every single year. So both me and my husband are huge traveling fanatics. We love going away on holiday. We try to go away twice a year. If not twice a year, we'll do once a year. And sometimes we'll either say we'll go on one big holiday, and if we decide to go on a budget holiday where it's going to be a bit cheaper, we'll do 2 holidays a year. So I just work around our budget for the year for holiday. That's how it works in our family. So this video is just going to be me sharing my tips and tricks on how we manage to go on holidays on a budget and not spend a ton of money. So if you're interested in hearing these tips, obviously these are going to be things that are based on my experience and things that I've learned throughout my years of booking holidays, finding cheap deals, and it's based on my experience. So these are not facts whatsoever. So I'm just going to share what I do, because some of you do ask me every time I post holiday vlogs. You ask me how much things cost, how we manage to go on holidays, how kids are, and I also went on Instagram and asked you guys if you had some questions. I will answer later in this video, so hang tight if you ask me a question. Wait to the end of the video for a Q&A. I really hope you guys find this video useful and beneficial, because every time I go on holiday I usually get asked the same questions, and you know what? I usually wonder the same things when I watch people that I watch, so it's only normal, and I don't mind sharing my tips and tricks with you guys if it means that you guys get a good deal as well, because like I said, we're not all made of money and everybody likes a good deal no matter how much money you have. And me and my husband love traveling. We have been traveling with Maliks since he was 1, and he has been to over 10 countries. Can you believe that? And he's not even 10 yet, he's 5. Yeah, we love traveling. You guys will be able to tell that by watching our videos. Okay, so first things first is destination. You have to know where you want to go before you even try to look for flights or hotels. So pick a destination, then you're going to move on to looking for cheap flights, because nobody wants to spend a lot of money on flights unless you are a billionaire or a millionaire, then you don't mind. But as regular folks, we want to look for cheap flights. Even if you're going to book first class, you still want a good deal. Nobody wants to spend more money than they have to. So for me, I like to spend the least amount of money on flights. We're all going to get there. Everybody in the plane, first class, business class, economy, you're all going to get there at the same time, okay? And I will be more willing to spend a bit more money on the accommodation. How I find cheap flights first is by going on to Skyscanner. This is a tip that my cousin gave me and it's fantastic, is to clear all your web browser history. So go incognito on your web browser, and what that means is that if you keep looking for flights every single day, your web browser history and the cookies saved on there will know that you're looking for flights. The more time you visit, cheap flights to Dubai, cheap flights to Malaysia, cheap flights to China, wherever it is, you know, they're going to up their prices because they're going to get alerted. So and so has looked 5 times, for example, right? So you want to clear your web browser history, and it will be as if though you've never searched for that before. So the prices that'll come up will be the prices as they are at the current time. Does that make sense? So that's how I find cheap flights. I just keep looking. I won't usually check and then whatever I find book. No, I'll keep looking. If you're going to, say, Spain, for example, because I just went there, what you want to do is look at the whole month and see what day is the cheapest to travel. If you're flexible and you know you don't have work or children in school, do that, because you'll see that certain days are more cheaper to travel than other days. And I think that's all my tips for finding cheap flights. Now the flights that I found for myself, my husband and Liana, even though she doesn't pay for a full seat, she pays for taxes, and all of her taxes came up to £78. So that's how much she paid on a budget airline. Malik will pay a fraction of what we pay. So for him it was something like £130 or £140. And for me and my husband, slightly more, maybe £50-60 more than Malik, because he pays for a full seat. The price for us to go to Spain using Ryanair was only 480. So under £500 for our flight, and that included me reserving seats for us. One thing you need to know about budget airlines is that you don't get your seats next to your family unless you pay to reserve it. So the reason why it is so cheap to book on these budget airlines is because they make most of their money on extras. So things like reservation of seats, you have to pay to reserve seats next to your family members. I've heard horror stories about people having to sit far away from their families, from their children. So I paid £6 for each of us to sit next to each other. And then I also paid for our baggage. You don't get a baggage allowance, not the 20 kg ones that you get when you go into Dubai or Malaysia. You don't get that included in your flight because flights are dirt cheap. Like I said, they make their money on the added extras. So you get the small bag if it fits in that little box in the airport. It is not a cabin bag, you have to pay for that. So it's £25 going, £25 back, so £50 overall if you want to get a cabin bag. In terms of baggage, I paid for the 20 kg because anytime that we go on holiday, I like for us to take one big bag or two, depending on how long we're going for or where we're going. If it's long haul, I'll take two 20 kgs, even though we're allowed to take three, including Malik because he pays full fare. Because we were going somewhere not far away, 3 hours away, I paid for the 20 kg. I decided that we were all going to use that 20 kg bag. Yes, it's the one that has two sides. So one side was for me and Liana and one side was for my husband and Malik. I was going to buy the cabin bag for my laptop and my camera equipment, but it was all sold out. So that didn't happen, and I'm so glad it didn't because it meant that we had less bags to carry. So the 20 kg I packed for 4 of us. Can you believe it? But I did go over like 5 kg. So when I pack in packing cubes, and when we went over, I just took one of those packing cubes out and I used it as my carry-on. Does that make sense? So that's what happened. It went over. It was like, I think 28 kgs it ended up being, and I took one of them out and it ended up being 24 kgs, and they let us off. They usually do when you're just a couple of kgs over. I used that to put under my chair. My husband had his backpack, and that's it. So once that 20 kg bag was checked in, we had no extra baggage apart from that little tiny one and my husband's backpack. I like to be as hands-free as possible. Moving on to accommodation. So it all depends on what type of holiday you're going on. That's the way I look at it. So if I'm going on a adventurous, exploring type of holiday like we did in Malaysia, I tend to care less about the accommodation. And I don't book anything very extravagant because I know that I'm going to be spending minimal amount of time in the accommodation. The only time I'll be spending there is sleeping, and that's it. I'll wake up, then go, and by the time I'll get back it'll be night time. The only thing I'm using it for is literally sleeping. For those type of holidays, I will book an Airbnb, and that is a self-catering accommodation. So it's not a hotel where you have your food downstairs, and you can get some Airbnbs that are situated in hotels or self-catered Airbnbs, but I've never booked one of those before. So I tend to book self-catering holiday, like I said, when we're going on an adventurous type of holiday where we won't be inside of the accommodation a lot and we're spending minimal time in there. What we'll usually do is find a supermarket close to the Airbnb, and we will buy breakfast items such as bread, eggs and milk. That's it. So the reason why we'll do that, oh, and some fruits, is because we have children and children tend to be very naggy when they're hungry. Us adults, we can wait to eat, okay? We can wait several hours. We can even go all day without eating, but not children. So we'll get our breakfast essentials as soon as we land. We'll just try and look for a shop so that in the morning we can make breakfast for the kids, and we can all leave, and then we'll have our breakfast out and about. We'll have lunch out and we'll have dinner out. So the only meal that we'll be eating in the Airbnb is usually just breakfast and snacks. You might be thinking, why don't you just book a cheap hotel? The reason why I tend to book a Airbnb as opposed to a hotel is because I'll be spending a tiny bit more money on the hotel, and that's all for a tiny room. Okay, so there's 4 of us, and we're not at the stage where we can get a family rooms where you get 2 rooms, because Malik still sleeps in the same room as us. He gets scared, and we have a baby, so we all usually, if we book a hotel, we're in 1 room. It doesn't make sense why I'd pay the same amount of money for one hotel room as I can pay for Airbnb, where I'll get a whole place, an entire place. You get a cooker so you can cook, you get a washing machine, you can wash your clothes, you get several rooms, you get a TV, you get so much more in self-catered apartments such as Airbnb, as opposed to a hotel where you just get in a little tiny hotel box room. So I much prefer using Airbnb or self-catered apartments, because I can wake up in the morning, make breakfast for the kiddies, and then just go and come back in the evening to sleep, which is the same thing I would usually do in a hotel, except in a hotel you don't have all these things. So I much prefer to book Airbnbs. That's one of the questions you guys asked me a lot of. I like the place I'm staying at to be very, very clean. I can't stand it when something is filthy. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. There are a lot of cheap Airbnbs out there, and they're not very good. Be careful when you book Airbnbs. I'd rather spend 100 or 2 more to go to a nicer place, because you're going to be spending a lot of time in the accommodation, not in the flight. The flight is usually what, 3-6 hours. If you're going long haul, obviously a lot longer. But because I'm going to be sleeping, waking up, eating, showering in the accommodation, I like it to be nice. So that's why I spend a bit more money on the accommodation. So it all depends on you. So if you don't mind about very clean places, or you're not a germaphobe like me, then you know you can find a lot cheaper Airbnbs. One thing I go for on Airbnbs is checking for the host. So I always go for super hosts, which means that they're incredible hosts, and I always book a place that has a lot of reviews. Never book anything that has 1 or 2 reviews or no reviews at all, or is new, because you just never know. I like to go to places where I know a lot of people have been and can vouch for. Does that make sense? So I will leave a link to the recent Airbnbs that I got for Spain, because I got a lot of questions on those, and I will leave a little link for you guys to use if you've never used Airbnb before. So if you book your first Airbnb stay using my link, you get money off, and I get some money off. So it's just an affiliate link basically. Does that make sense? So that's accommodation covered. I don't ever use a lot of hotels. I always use Airbnbs. I just love it, guys. You get an entire place, like what is there not to love? But if it's a relaxing type of holiday where I'm just going to relax, I'm not going to explore, I'm not going to do any adventurous things, I'm not going to do any excursions, I'm not going to do any exploring, then I will book a all-inclusive. And what that means is that breakfast, lunch, dinner is included, and obviously you can go do activities if you want, you can eat out, but everything's included. So I tend to book that. For Egypt I booked one of those, so it was flight and accommodation included, and that cost £1,000 for me, Malik and my husband. So for 3 of us it cost £1,000 to go to Egypt for 7 nights. And for Spain, the first Airbnb in Spain, where we only spent a couple of days there, cost around £550. So this is Barcelona. Barcelona is very expensive, and we didn't get a very big Airbnb because we knew we'd be out every single day. We wouldn't spend any time at all in the Airbnb. So we got like a loft conversion Airbnb where the bed was on one side, the toilet was on one side, the kitchen was on one side, the dining table, and a TV and a sofa bed. And it also had a really nice balcony that I didn't manage to show you guys, but it was so nice. The balcony sold it to me. But Barcelona is a very expensive city. The flights are very cheap. Like I said, flights cost me under £600. But the expensive part about going to Europe is the accommodation, especially Barcelona if you're going to that. So keep that in mind. So the first Airbnb where we stayed only a couple of days cost £550. Second Airbnb where we stayed for a week cost £700. But I didn't mind spending a lot of money on that because that was a surprise for my husband, and we were gonna be staying in that Airbnb a lot more. It wasn't gonna be an adventure type of thing. We wanted to explore a lot of Barcelona, and in Valencia we just wanted to chill. That's why I booked the apartment facing the beach basically. So we were spending a lot of time in that Airbnb, so I didn't mind splurging a bit more. And spending money, I would say we spent around £100 a day for food. So that's something you have to bear in mind when you go self-catered as opposed to going on all-inclusive holidays where everything, all the cost is together, flights and hotels. I think that covers all. Now I'm going to answer some of your questions because this video is very long. I really hope that you found it informative. What site did you use to book flights and accommodation? Like I said, I used Ryanair to book the flights, and I used Airbnb, and I always use Airbnb for all my accommodations because I love Airbnb. Did you find it difficult or exhausting breastfeeding whilst being away? I didn't find it very difficult, but I did find it a bit exhausting and a bit hard when you're out and about. However, what I did was took my breast pump, so I would pump whenever I'm back at the apartment. I would pump every evening actually, and I took these bags. I will link them down below. I got them from Amazon. Got them when I first had Liana. It was a sample in the Bounty bag. So it's a bag where you store your breast milk and you can freeze it, put it in the fridge. Every time I pump my milk, I put that in that bag and put it in the fridge. So before we leave, I would feed Liana a bottle. However, it was very hard on holiday because she really didn't want the bottle. She was like, no thank you honey, I want the breast, I want milk from the breast. So it was quite hard. She would take it eventually, and you know what, in this holiday I learned to breastfeed in public. Yeah, I did. Obviously my boobs weren't out there. I would cover myself with my hijab, for example, like if I'm breastfeeding, like, you know, and then I'd cover her like this. She hates anything in front of her face, so it was quite difficult, but we did it. We managed it. It wasn't the easiest, but you know what, nothing good in life is easy. But I definitely would recommend taking a breast pump, pumping your milk, making sure that they're fully fed before they leave and before they go to sleep. And Liana eats nowadays anyway, so it wasn't that difficult. How did you manage to find a budget holiday in the holiday season? I booked actually not very ahead of time. I booked 3 or 4 months before the holiday season hit, which I know is quite late because a lot of people book a year in advance. Can you believe that? Like, I can't even do that because I don't know if I'm going to be alive. Imagine I book a holiday a year from now and I'm dead. But I don't know, but it's good, I guess, to think ahead. Another thing I got asked a lot about is activities. Activities are not my forte. I do all the flights and hotels, and my husband is usually very good at planning things out. He loves planning. He does spreadsheets, all of that good stuff. He will plan out all the activities, do all the research. This is going to be the last question, guys, because this video is super long. What's the best baby carrier to use on holiday and what buggy? Traveling soon, thanks. So best baby carrier I would say is Baby Bjorn. I think that's how you say it, Baby Bjorn. We were kindly gifted that from them, and oh my god, was it a lifesaver. And I was saying to my husband that I'm so glad that we have this, because I could not have dealt with using a buggy, especially in a busy city like Barcelona or even Valencia. We took the metro quite a bit, and Barcelona metro and underground system does not have lifts. Most of them do not have lifts, and most of them don't have escalators, so you have to take the stairs quite a bit. So imagine trying to work the stairs with a buggy. That would have been so hard. So for us, with activities that we did, baby carrier was definitely the best way to go. Definitely would not have taken a buggy. That was not going to be a good idea. If you go into a chill city where, you know, you're not taking any trains, buses, trams, anything of that sort, then maybe a buggy is definitely good. But for the type of holiday that we went on, definitely a baby carrier all the way. And I would say that from now on I'm taking a baby carrier, no more buggies, because Malik is 5, he walks with us. He walks, basically does the amount of steps as we do. He is a trooper, but if he needs to be carried, I or my husband will carry him absolutely fine. But there's no need for buggies. Like, he's 5, why does he need a buggy? Kids are always hungry. How do you manage that in a hotel? So again, we didn't get a hotel, we got an Airbnb, and we always buy some food from the supermarket, stock it up in the fridge. And before I go on holiday, I always get a snack bag. So I go to Aldi or Lidl or Asda, buy all their favorite snacks, and then I take that with us on the plane. So anytime they're hungry, whip out my snack bag. Even when I'm hungry, whip it out. And I usually would order a coffee or tea or hot chocolate in the plane to have it with my chocolate bar. In the hotel, I still have that snack bag, bear in mind, or the Airbnb, wherever it is I'm staying at. And I'll always carry some snacks in the backpack in case we're out and about and we don't have a restaurant nearby. good tip would be to take snacks with you everywhere. Always carry snacks. So that is going to be the end of this video. I really hope it's been informative. I hope it's been beneficial for you. I hope you learned something, and I hope that I've answered the majority of your questions that you had regarding to holidays on a budget. But if you have questions that I haven't answered yet, leave them down below. I always reply to you guys, so leave any questions that you want me to answer that I haven't answered down below, and I'll catch you in my next video. Take care. Bye bye.